Y'all, it's just emotions taking me over. Caught up in sorrow, lost in the song. Okay, baby, let me tell you something. The emotions was flowing last night on the Real Housewives of Potomac, and we are here to break it all down. Sky Squad, we are back in the building, baby. Back, like we never left. Okay. So everybody's is listen, is crime contagious? I just want to know because yawning is contagious. Y'all ain't know that? Yawn. See it on somebody else yawn around you. Now, I'm wondering, is crying the same? Or is crying a game? Okay. Let us know in the comment section down below. All right, so let me rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. First things first, I got to admit I had taken a melatonin gummy. So by the end of this episode, I was feeling loosey goosey. I ain't gonna need to lie to you. I ain't gonna need to hold y'all. I was feeling loosey goosey. So my amusement of this episode, I cannot tell if it was really indeed from the gummerization or if it was indeed the fact that the episode was funny. Okay. Um, I felt like I'm going to give this episode an 8.9. Not quite a 9, but close. And let me tell you why. And I know a lot of people are really over Potomac at this point in time, mostly because at times it feels very toxic. But I will say that in this particular episode, I felt some sparks of effort on behalf of production to make this episode fun. It's almost like, did somebody hear us screaming and hollering in the background about how these ladies don't seem like they really like each other at all? So I don't know if every editorial moment was needed in terms of how it was edited, because the Potomac editors, I feel like they be having the most fun out of any other franchise, and I'm all the way here for it. However, in light of the recent complaints about Potomac, it did feel more like there was an effort made to make this episode a lot more enjoyable for the audience, while by relying a lot less on the scandal and the drama, and which a great show has a little bit of both. You know what I'm saying? And it makes us enjoy it. There's a point on Beverly Hills where Kyle and Sutton are going at it, right? And I'm not really recapping that show right now because I have some issues with it, but that's for another day. But one thing that I did like was there was this moment where the ring came up that Kyle was wearing, and she's like, because Garcelle was like, people were thinking that, or at least I was thinking that this new ring was like a makeup gift. Apparently maybe that was something that her husband had done for her. And so Kyle is like, well, who remembers where they got their ring from? Like where they get jewelry from? And then, Kyle turns to Garcelle and says, do you know where you got your necklace from? And Garcelle is like, Zara, the Zara, the Zara. It's a tension-breaking moment in the heat of an intense back and forth that is what Housewives back in its heyday was known for, right? That comedic element, all right, that makes you want to watch the show, makes you salivate for the drama, but also laugh and have a good time and see some fabulosity. And I gotta tell you guys that I'm gonna talk about it more in the Married to Medicine review, but Married to Medicine has upped the level of fabulosity in such an interesting way. I don't know if it's the inclusion of Phaedra. I don't quite know if it is really the idea of leaning into the lifestyle that Toya likes to live, because these doctors, yes, they got it. But Married to Medicine is pulling in Kamala Harris. They are doing lunch at a winery outside in this fabulous vineyard. I mean, it's just that those broad strokes of fabulosity that I feel like we're missing in Housewives. But for this particular episode, I felt like there was chaos and comedy. So I'm satisfied with this episode in a way that I wasn't before. And we got a, a period placed on a couple of issues that I felt like the show has been struggling with. And I don't know if they made you feel any better or any worse. So let me know in the chat as we go along, right? So, Robyn, we start the episode. It's episode 7 for those of you guys who did not see it or who may have missed what number it was. And it's called Don't Rock the Boat. Okay. Now, I had wondered, I was like, are the mid-season trailers coming out so early? Because we're only on episode 7. I'm usually used to them coming out around episode 8 or 9. But I also realized that next week is a holiday, right? So I don't know if next week there is going to be an episode, and I haven't even looked at the episode guide or whatever like that, because you could just Google that. So I haven't looked at that yet, but my assumption is maybe they wanted to give us all something to hold us all over until after the holidays when they resume the episodes. So that could be it. I'm not necessarily sure. Who knows? But this episode in particular is called Don't Rock the Boat. And Robyn, we start off, is still crying in the back of the car about being a doggone villain. I mean, who is she to you guys? Is she Cruella? Okay. Is she Eveline? You know, who is Robyn at this point? Is she a victim or a villain? Chime down in the chat down below. Is Robyn Dixon a victim or a villain in this whole fiasco? Because she feels like Candiace has been implying that she herself got Juan fired for speaking about the lawsuit at the reunion. Now, Wendy then says, I know too what it is like to have a husband who has been maligned. Don't you recall, Robina? Okay. And Robyn is also upset because Chris Bassett did an interview with the Brav brothers. It's the Brav brothers, right? I got to make sure I get that right because I really enjoyed them. I just want to make sure I got that because yeah, it's Brav Bros. Okay. I was making sure it wasn't like Bravo Bros and they modified the name. So I just wanted to make sure I got that right. I like these guys. They are good. They are good. They good recaps on shows. If you are interested in the broad spectrum of Bravo shows, okay. So Chris Bassett did an interview with them, basically, okay. Kind of talking about the same things that he talked about, with me when we interviewed. Just how it felt odd for Robyn to be kind of coming against him, talking about how it was not appropriate for him to be in the hotel room. But the funny thing about that whole situation is it's not appropriate. Probably if we want to talk about that, I guess the other side of the coin for Robyn would be, was it appropriate for your man to pay for a hotel room for another woman? Okay. And then tell us that he did not sleep there. Okay, but that's beside the point because we're not talking about that today. Okay. It is what it is. It was what it was, and it ain't what it ain't. Okay. So at that point, Robyn, because she's upset, she basically tells Candiace they not friends. Not friends, girl. Not me. Okay. So then they arrive at the chicken bingo spot. Now, as they at the bingo table, Robyn is still crying. It's just emotions taking me over. Mhm. And so then she explains the whole situation to Gizelle. Now, I'm going to paint the picture for you guys because if you did not see it, you may not really get it. But all the ladies are crowded in this booth, right? So you have Wendy on one side, Candiace, then you have Ineka, Karen, Giselle, Ashley somewhere in there too. Robina, and then you have Mia, okay? So just picture the booth, and they all smashed up in there. Okay. So Robyn's crying. She's explaining to Gizelle what happened. Candiace crying. She's hurt. The Robyn's hurt. I guess it's two things for me. Okay. Candiace is crying because Robyn is hurt. There's clearly some type of love for Robyn, but I also understand why Candiace would be upset with Robyn. So it does confuse me just a bit that she has so much emotion for Robyn. Because in my mind, I'm kind of like Candiace. Don't cry for Robyn Argentina. The truth is she never loved you. Because I would have to, because for real, the way Robyn had flipped on her during that reunion, I don't understand why she'd be crying. Now, I do think that there is something to be said for the fact that Robyn, actually, I'm gonna rate this episode a 9 because I forgot about something that we got. We got to talk about Robyn and Juan at the end, baby. But I'm just confused because in my mind, I'm like, Candiace, do you really think that this girl is your friend? Like, are you crying because of the loss of a friendship and it's really hitting you right now? Or are you crying because the situation with Juan losing his job is that you realize that that could be dire for their family? And in that instance, I could understand it also too. Or maybe she's mourning the loss of someone that she really thought was a friend and it's hitting her. Because what I will tell you is this. When you are filming a show, emotions are heightened. Everything is elevated. The energy in the space is heightened, not only due to one, you're in a group of women that don't all like each other, okay? You're trying to make the best of it, and then you got cameras on you, producers, making sure that you mention your beats and stuff like that. So I can also understand, like, having those types of moments. But I mean, for real, I'm like, Candiace, girl, the way she flipped on you, I don't really know if you need to be crying for her. Now, Robyn crying because of what happened with Juan, I can understand it. And I would say too, also, it is good to see Robyn show some emotion. I do not wish anybody, I don't wish firing on nobody. Okay. Whatever happened in that situation, it happened. And I understand the gravity of it when it comes down to the real life aspects of that being his job, his occupation, and then losing that, right? And what that could look like. But what we understand, as we will get later on, is that he had at least 15 months left on that contract. So it had to be pretty bad for them to be like, we're going to go ahead and pay you for the next year and a half, even though you ain't bringing us. I mean, even though we losing money, it's worth more for us to fire you than it would be to keep you on. It's worth more for us to fire you and then pay you a salary, okay, for the next 15 months than it is for us to keep you on. That's a pretty bad look, in my opinion, okay, just from a job perspective. The optics of that just don't look good. So as Robyn is crying about it, I can get that. I can understand it. I think it's a serious situation, even though she says not much in their lives have changed in the period of time that since that's happened. But it's interesting, and we'll talk more about that when we get to Robyn and Juan's Ponderosa later on. Okay. So anyway, Mia and Gizelle are arguing about if Candiace is a friend or a villain, and they're arguing back and forth with Wendy for some reason or whatever like that. So Robyn needs to go outside and she needs some time, and Mia follows her, and Robyn is screaming, "Don't just leave me alone!" I mean, she want to be left alone. Okay, so she's like, "Go ahead, go back inside, girl. I ain't trying to talk to you." And she's hurting because of Juan being out of a job. Meanwhile, back at the table, they bring over the chicken. Okay, there's the real chickens involved. The chicken is aptly named the killer, and Ashley, is determined to pet up on that chicken. As Ashley is checking on the chickens pooping, okay, Gizelle checks on Robyn, who is outside on the stoop, stooping. Okay, Robyn's outside sitting on the curb. Okay, as the traffic rolls by. Okay, walk on by. She's just out there. Just sitting on the corner. Got the blues. Okay, Robyn got the blues. So, Gizelle and Mia talk about how strong Robyn is to endure all of this. And Gizelle is like, F that beat, Candiace, okay? Back inside, Candiace realizes that she cannot be friends with Robyn, who is still friends with Gizelle, a woman who would malign her husband's character in such a way that it would cause such discord amongst the group and publicly, okay, by insinuating that he was a sneaky link and wanted to see if she was with it alongside of making her feel uncomfortable, okay? So personally speaking, I would like for Candiace just to put a period there, because at a certain point in time, you have got to, in real life, you've got to realize they are always going to be BFFs, and they are going to ride and die for each other. Okay. And there's nothing really wrong with that per se, but that begs the question, can you be friends with your enemy's best friend? Chime down in the chat. Can you be friends with your enemy's best friend? That's the question. Okay. Although Wendy tries to convince Candiace to give it a try with Robyn, but Candiace at this point in time is in full-on tears. Okay. And Wendy and Karen tell Candiace that she knows what this is in this situation, and it is Robyn weaponizing her situation to gain sympathy and to paint Candiace as the villain. Okay. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's that? Um, I think personally, Robyn had a moment. She's in a car with, some girls that don't really like her. And I think that them holding her feet to the fire was more than she could take. And I think that the Juan situation of it all, I believe now she's probably crying because she knows she's going to have to tell Juan what is going on. And she already knows and fears the verbal lashing that he's going to give her. And I only feel like this now because I've seen the entire episode and I know what is to come. Okay. And so now I have to look back at Robyn as she's in tears, and I have to wonder if there is a level of fear and trepidation over what he may say to her and how he may make her feel as a result of the women talking about this lawsuit in such a way and blaming her. I have to wonder that. Okay. Now, Nneka thinks that Wendy is manipulating Candiace. Outside, Wendy explains what happened, and Candiace explains that it's not smart to speak about legal matters. So they're still talking about this. But Candiace would like for them to talk because she's finally seeing some emotion from Robyn. I still say put a pin in it and let it simmer and let it die down, because I just kind of feel like right now it is not the best time. I think if Robyn and Candiace were to have a conversation, it needs to be alone. Similar to the way I feel like if Wendy and Nneka are to have a conversation, it is to be alone. And from there, make your determinations and your decisions based on what happens during those private ponderosas. Okay. They go back inside, and Gizelle tells Ashley that they're going to take Robyn back to the hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. Back inside, Ashley has spotted a black Chris Bassett lookalike. Not. Um, I don't think that man looked nothing like Chris Bassett. Wendy has convinced a nice young countryman to get her a ticket for the chicken poop stuff. And I start to notice as they are playing around this chicken coop that Wendy and Aneka seem to be bonding over the chicken poop. I don't know. Is there a glimmer of hope here? Perhaps, perchance. I don't know. Should we take some bets? The next day, it's AKA Karen's 60 triple 20 birthday. And Candiace FaceTimes Chris, and she relays the argument she had with Robyn. And Gizelle stops by Karen's room to celebrate her 60th birthday with some champs and snacks from downstairs. Gizelle wants to address what's going on with her and Candiace, because for her, there will be no moving forward with Candiace, because Candiace has made comments at the reunion that Gizelle treats people differently based on the color of their skin, or the every hue of their skin. Y'all see what I did there? Apropos, right? So, anywho, and as a result, Gizelle has been getting threats on her life, and she wants to keep her kids safe. So it would behoove her not to have any dealings with Candiace at all, period, dot, the end. Now, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. When I saw this scene last night, I had to wonder. First of all, I cannot state whether or not Gizelle has received the threats based on Gizelle doesn't react to much on social media, and I think that she plays the game smartly on social media. Like her social media is her doing whatever she want to do, and that's just it, right? You don't really see her post a lot about issues that she has with people on the show on her social media. You just don't see it. And I like that, to be honest with you. I ain't gonna need a lie. But it works for some people, it doesn't work for everybody else, right? But what I will say is, again, I don't know whether or not this woman is truly receiving these types of threats. What do you guys think? What I do know is, if that is the case and that is how she feels, I would rather it be said so that everybody knows they're just not going to talk to each other ever again. I would rather her say it out loud versus us continuing to talk about how they're not going to talk anymore and lament about what the show used to be or what it could be as a result, right? Because we've had a lot of discourse about why this show doesn't feel good, and that is one of the reasons. But now that it has been stated and Gizelle has put a pin in it, I almost feel a sense of relief, because now it's just like, okay, y'all just gonna like maneuver around each other. Does that make for a great show? I really can't. I don't know. I mean, it don't feel like it. But I mean, on one show, we just literally watched, the whole cast, half the cast, most of 90% of the cast of Married to Medicine tell Quad to go home. So we'll talk more about that. Okay. All right. In this video right here. But until then, what do you guys think? Do you feel better just knowing that Gizelle just put it out there? She's never talking to her again. What does that mean for production? What does that mean that the network is going to say? And what does it say about Gizelle as the centerpiece of this group? Because she's kind of putting her foot down as the face of the show, saying she will not engage with Candiace anymore. Does that bode well for Candiace, or does that not bode well for Gizelle? What do you think? Let me know. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. Meanwhile, Karen agrees that the threats are dangerous and she'll respect Gizelle's boundaries and no longer try to put the two of them together. Meanwhile, Mia gets a FaceTime from Gordon. Apparently, the business attorney has emailed him because he is due some money from his family or from the family business, and he won't get money. And Mia doesn't think that he should sue the family because she just feels like he should let it go. But in my mind, I'm like, if I had a business and I had invested time, money, energy, and resources into it, and all of a sudden the business partner could just be like, "Nah, player, you out." Like, I would be thinking about suing too. Like, it doesn't really. I mean, I can only tell you what I know based on what they give us on the screen. So I'm sure there's more at play here that we just don't know about. But from the optics of it, I don't blame him for trying to get his money. Okay, get your money. I mean, like what? We just supposed to like give up? No, like no, player. Y'all want to play with me? I'm play with you. So anyway, I'm assuming that all of this will come into play later. So they head outside. The cars are switched. Gizelle is now sitting in a car with Robyn, as her protector. Okay. All the girls do nice confessionals for Karen, wishing her a happy birthday. I did think that that was a nice little touch to the episode. And it's off to go kayaking, for which Candiace and Karen will not be going, but Candiace is just going to go later. Gizelle and Robyn are on their own kayak, and they commiserate about how pissed Gizelle is about Candiace and about how Robyn is going to have to call Juan and tell him what happened with Candiace and this lawsuit mentioned. Robyn is annoyed that Candiace is doing interviews, and it's not like, Robyn says it's not like she was robbing and stealing old people's money or anything like that. She just wasn't telling her truth, and demanding that everybody else does. Okay. So anyway, Candiace wants to talk to Karen, and she thanks Karen for her support on yesterday. Everybody does seem to be enjoying kayaking. Karen talks about buying her grandmother's house back in Surrey. And before I get there, some of the girls are drinking some wine, out of a bottle, that they didn't all put their mouth on. And then everybody seems like they having really fun, like big fun once the group is divided. Okay. Because Candiace, Wendy, Karen, and Nneka, and Mia, and Ashley all seem like they can actually have a good time together once they are not around Gizelle and Robyn. Gizelle and Robyn, I don't know if they put a poo-poo on the dynamic of the group, or is it for them that Candiace and Wendy put a poo-poo on the group? I don't understand. Like, it's gonna be interesting to see who comes back next season as a result of this. But I don't know, man. Like, I got a feeling somebody not gonna make it back. And I just want to know who y'all think it is, because it creates a very weird dynamic. And maybe that dynamic will work as time continues, but right now it's just awkward. It's time to get into the van ride back. We learned that Karen is buying, her grandmother's house in Surrey, which we talked about. She found a deep freezer. I think she said she was going to turn it into a resort or something like that. So this was we got a couple of little nice scenes in this episode. Ashley instructs all the girls to go to the pool, but they actually go to their rooms when they get back to the hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. Robyn gets, she got to talk to Juan. Okay. Now, that's when we learned that he had 15 months on his contract, and that's when I wrote in my notes, dang, was it that bad? Whatever they fired him, okay, to fire him, and he still has a year and some change on the contract. They're basically saying, we will take getting rid of you and paying you, okay, over you being here. That's bad. So in this scene, I was like, it was interesting to me because I don't know if it was to add a dose of reality to their situation and how dire it is, or could be, but them talking about his prescriptions and like the insurance not kicking in until June. I mean, that's some real stuff right there. But I also was like, I don't know if I want to know about prescriptions. Everybody got prescriptions and stuff like that. I get it, but it's just like, I don't know. It was a little, it I guess I can't complain because it was real, right? So it is what it is. Maybe I just then got so used to not real that I'm uncomfortable with the real. I don't know. So y'all, what did y'all did anybody else feel a certain type of way about that, or was it just me? It could just be me. I don't know. I'm just telling you how I felt when I was watching it. So, and maybe that's a good thing. So anyway, she also talks about what all the girls have been saying about, how she got him fired, about talking about the legal stuff. And he gets to screaming at her. Like he is screaming at her to stop feeding into it. And he's like, "Why are you getting so emotional?" And she's screaming that she's I don't was she screaming that she wasn't crying? Like I felt like like the things that he was screaming at her through the phone were making her cry and making her even more emotional. His reaction to her reaction of she's essentially crying because she knows how initially she's crying and emotional because she knows what this has done to him as a man and as someone who is working in his profession as the father of her kids, as her helpmate, okay, or whatever he is to her in their marriage, which are all valid feelings, right? I'm sure all of this has gotten to her, and I don't begrudge her feelings, right? But because she feels so badly about it, I feel like, why is he screaming at her when she's just telling him what happened? I don't even think she had gotten to the fact that she broke down the way that she did before he gets to screaming and screeching about her to stop being so emotional about it. So you have someone on the phone who is screaming about you not being emotional, but that person is literally screaming at you because they are emotional. Like that makes absolutely zero sense. So you're screaming at her for having feelings, for expressing her emotions, for crying, which is now making her cry more. So the person who is saying it's just it was some it to me it felt really toxic to me. And I'm sure it was frustration, but also it made me mad, uncomfortable. It was hard to watch. It was cringy, but it wasn't surprising, to be honest with you. It really wasn't. Um this coming from a man who has basically said on camera to a producer he just can't do this anymore. This whatever they had going on. If I can't recall it his words verbatim, but y'all remember who those of you guys who have been watching the show for years, you remember what he was saying to the producer. This from a man who has always come across like he really doesn't want to be there. So to watch her break down as he's screaming at her, okay? Robin, who has been crying literally most of the episode, is now having to bear the brunt of his frustration at her. Finally, he just can't listen to it anymore because it's making his skin crawl. To be honest with you, reflecting back, I bet anything in the world that this is one of those moments that Robin Dixon wishes that Juan Dixon was not here on the phone. Chime down in the chatterization down below and let me know what you guys